There's a hidden switch buried deep inside every person, a secret fear they rarely dare to admit, even to themselves. It's not simply the fear of being alone. No, it's something far more primal. It's the fear of losing someone who truly understands their own worth. Think about this clearly. Everyone has someone they can easily forget and someone they can't bear to lose. The distinction between these two people is subtle but powerful. The first is ordinary and replaceable. The second is rare and irreplaceable. It's this second person who quietly knows who they are and never compromises on their own standards. They don't beg for attention. They don't chase after approval. Instead, they live boldly, calmly, and without apology. Their confidence isn't loud or showy. It's silent, powerful, and compelling. Imagine this. You walk into a crowded room. Most people try hard to be noticed. They laugh too loudly, speak too much, or desperately seek attention. But then there's another person, quiet and calm, effortlessly attracting attention without even trying. Their presence alone draws eyes to them. People naturally feel drawn to their inner strength. They wonder, who is this person? And, more importantly, what makes them so different? That magnetic pull isn't just charisma, it's self-respect, an aura of self-assuredness that others instinctively want to hold on to. Why is this important for relationships? Because human psychology tells us clearly that we never truly appreciate what we believe we'll never lose. We become careless with things we assume will always remain ours. But the moment we feel something valuable slipping away, anxiety strikes. Our heart races, our mind spirals, and suddenly we recognize its worth. We fear losing what we finally understand is precious. Think of it as holding sand in your palm. When you grip it too tightly, desperate and afraid to lose even a single grain, the sand slips through your fingers faster. But hold it loosely, confidently, knowing your worth isn't tied to it, and the sand remains steady. Relationships function in the exact same way. When you know your worth, you naturally hold yourself with a gentle strength. People sense that strength and become afraid to lose you because they realize how rare such self-assurance is. You must understand that this isn't manipulation. It's a genuine shift in your mindset. It's not about pretending to be indifferent. It's about truly embracing your independence and self-worth. It's about showing through actions rather than words that you have options, dreams, and a path in life that doesn't rely solely on someone else's validation. As the philosopher Epicurus once said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. When you truly know yourself, you no longer chase acceptance. You naturally command respect. This quiet strength triggers a deep instinctual fear in others, the fear of losing you. In this guide, we'll explore precisely how to awaken this instinctual fear. We'll break down why this subtle yet powerful approach works so consistently, and how you can practice it effortlessly in your relationships. You'll learn how to inspire genuine appreciation, respect, and desire. Not through manipulation, but through authenticity, quiet strength, and an unshakable sense of self. Let's begin. 1. Be the sun, not the planet. Live as if you're already whole. The most magnetic people aren't the ones searching for someone to complete them. They're the ones who are already complete. The ones who move through life as if nothing is missing, because nothing is. They don't wait for someone to add meaning to their world. Their life is already rich, already full, already pulsing with purpose. Think about it. When someone is deeply focused on their passion, their mission, their own self-mastery, they radiate something different. There's no desperation in their energy, no empty space they need someone to fill, and that changes everything. Suddenly, they aren't just another option. They are the option. Why does this trigger fear in others? Because people crave what is rare, and a person who is truly whole within themselves is rare. Most are searching for someone to validate them, to soothe their insecurities, to keep them from sitting alone with their own thoughts. But the one who thrives in their solitude, the one who doesn't need external validation to feel worthy, that person stands apart. That person cannot be easily replaced. It's human nature to take for granted what seems easily available. When someone is always there, always eager, always trying to please, their presence loses its weight. They become predictable, and predictability is the death of desire. If there's no challenge, no sense of mystery, no possibility of loss, then where's the urgency? Where's the value? The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your ambitions, your focus, your sense of purpose depend entirely on someone else, you're standing on shaky ground. But when you build your foundation within yourself, when you live as if your path is enough, with or without them, you become untouchable. Imagine a mountain standing tall against the wind. No matter how strong the storm, the mountain does not bow, does not break, it remains. That is the energy of a person who knows their worth, and people can feel it. They can sense that unshakable presence, and it changes how they see you. On the other hand, imagine a leaf in the wind, blown whichever way the breeze takes it, desperate for direction, dependent on external forces. That's the energy of someone who lives for another's approval, who bends over backward just to be chosen. The leaf is easily moved. The mountain is not. Which one do you think commands more respect? Which one do you think people fear losing? Some might wonder, does this mean you should act like you don't care? No. Indifference is not the goal. Strength is. The goal is not to push people away. It's to walk with such confidence that they naturally want to stay because they recognize that losing you isn't just losing a partner, it's losing someone rare. A person who knows their worth isn't afraid of someone leaving. Why? Because their value isn't dependent on who stays. They are the sun, not the planet. They don't orbit around someone else's approval. They shine on their own. And in doing so, they pull others into their gravity. Now picture this. Someone wakes up every day with a sense of purpose. They hit the gym not to impress anyone, but because discipline is part of who they are. They chase their goals not to show off, but because those goals matter to them. They have their own passions, their own ambitions, their own path. And whether someone walks beside them or not, that path continues and morene. That's power. That's presence. When others realize that keeping you isn't guaranteed, something shifts. Suddenly, they aren't so sure they can afford to lose you because they understand that you are not like the rest. Not one of the many who cling, who chase, who wait to be chosen. You are the rare one who builds their own kingdom, whether or not someone chooses to stand beside you. 2. Be the calm in the storm. Choose peace over chaos. There's a moment in every relationship when emotions run high, when tempers flare, and when someone is testing just how much control they have over you. It could be an unnecessary argument, a sudden cold shoulder, or a string of emotional accusations designed to get a reaction. Most people take the bait. They jump into the fire trying to prove their point, defend themselves, or fix things immediately. But not you. Not the one who values their peace above all else. And when you refuse to engage in drama, something unexpected happens. Instead of pulling you in, they feel you slipping away. The fear creeps in. Are you already halfway out the door? Do you care enough to fight? Why aren't you reacting the way everyone else would? That uncertainty is unsettling, and unsettling things get stuck in the mind. Most people believe that fighting back, Arguing or over-explaining shows they care. But in reality, all that does is expose fear, the fear of losing them, and fear is never attractive. When someone senses that you're afraid of losing them, they stop seeing you as strong. They stop seeing you as rare. They realize they have too much control over you, and that control kills the very attraction they once felt. Now imagine this. They send a long emotional message full of accusations, trying to drag you into a battle. Most people would fire back, defend themselves, and try to fix things immediately. But you don't. Instead, you reply with something short, calm, and direct. I'm not going to argue. Let's talk when we're both calm. And then you go about your day as if your peace isn't up for negotiation. That silence is louder than shouting. That self-control is more powerful than any argument. Why does this work? Because people expect chaos. They expect emotional outbursts. They expect validation in the form of a fight. When you don't give it to them, they're left sitting with their own emotions, their own thoughts, their own doubts. And the longer they sit with them, the more they wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not chasing, why they suddenly feel like they might be the one losing you. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "A wise person values their inner tranquility more than any external thing, including relationships, arguments, and even the approval of others." When you embody this mindset, when you prioritize your peace over proving a point, you become something rare. You become the person who isn't desperate for validation, who isn't controlled by emotions, and most importantly, who isn't afraid to walk away if necessary. That's unsettling in the best way possible. At this point, some might wonder, isn't this just being emotionally distant? Isn't this ignoring problems? Not at all. There's a huge difference between avoiding issues and refusing to engage in unnecessary chaos. The first is fear, the second is strength. It's about control, not over them, but over yourself. And self-control is power. Picture an ocean. Some people are like waves, crashing restlessly, pulled in every direction by whatever storm comes their way. Others are like the deep sea, calm, unmoved, untouchable. Which one holds more power? Which one do people fear losing? When you hold your peace above all else, you send a clear message. My self-respect is stronger than my need to prove a point. That kind of quiet strength doesn't just command respect, it demands it. Because deep down, people know that the one who remains calm in the storm is the one who controls the weather. 3. Be the flame, not the moth. Master the art of controlled absence. Sometimes the most powerful move is no move at all. Not reacting, not chasing, not filling every moment with your presence, just stepping back calmly and intentionally so they can feel what it's like when you're not there. This isn't about punishment, and it's not about playing games. It's about value. When someone knows they can have you anytime, anywhere, without effort, they stop seeing you as something rare. You blend into the background, predictable, expected. And the human mind is wired to take what's expected for granted. But when you remove yourself, when you introduce just the right amount of distance, you become unforgettable. Think of fire and shadow. The closer you get to the flame, the less you notice its warmth. But step back, let the cold creep in, and suddenly that heat is all you can think about. That's the effect of controlled absence. You're not vanishing, you're creating space. Space where your presence is no longer assumed, but felt in its absence. People often mistake constant availability for devotion, but the truth is, it kills appreciation. When someone knows you'll always answer, always show up, always be available at a moment's notice, there's no urgency to value you. Why would they? You're always there. They can afford to delay appreciation because, in their mind, you're not going anywhere. But take that certainty away. Make them wonder even just a little, and suddenly everything shifts. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest weapon. Epicurus once said, "He who is self-sufficient fears nothing." Think about that. When you don't cling, don't chase, don't beg for attention, you radiate something different. An energy of quiet strength. Without saying a word, you send the message. I'm good with you, but I'm also good without you. And that gets under their skin in a way that can't be faked. At this point, some might wonder, does this mean ignoring them, ghosting them? No, controlled absence isn't silence for the sake of silence. It's space with a purpose. When you pull back, something interesting happens. Their mind starts filling in the blanks. Are they losing interest? Are they seeing someone else? Did I do something wrong? That uncertainty, the sudden awareness that they could actually lose you, triggers something deep. It forces them to reevaluate what they have before. It's gone. We only truly value what we believe we could lose. That's human nature. You're always within reach. They never feel that edge. But if you step back just enough for them to notice your absence, you stop being an assumption and start being a possibility that could slip away if they don't act. And that changes everything. Now, some will ask, shouldn't relationships be built on security, not uncertainty? Absolutely. But security doesn't mean taking each other for granted. It doesn't mean constant access. It means mutual respect. And respect comes from knowing that the person in front of you has a life, a purpose, and the strength to walk away if they are not valued. The moment someone believes they have total control over you, they stop respecting you. And when respect fades, so does desire. Picture someone who's always present, always available, always waiting. Now picture someone who has their own life, their own ambitions, their own sense of purpose. The second person, the one who isn't always within reach, is the one who commands attention. Not by force, not by manipulation, but by simply being someone whose absence is felt. This approach isn't reactive, it's intentional. You're not stepping back because you're angry. You're stepping back because you understand your worth. You're giving them the space to recognize it too. And if they don't, that's their loss, not yours. A person who truly values themselves doesn't fear walking away because they know that their peace, their worth, their strength doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from within. And when you embody that, you don't just make them fear losing you. You make them respect you. And respect is the foundation of real desire. 4. Wear your crown unapologetically. Self-respect teaches people how to treat you. That's not just some clever saying. It's the foundation of every relationship you'll ever have. The way you carry yourself, the boundaries you set, and the standards you uphold all send a message. And that message is either one of quiet strength or quiet desperation. The difference? Self-respect. The moment you fully embrace your own worth, you automatically become rare. Not because you play hard to get, but because most people are too afraid to demand the best for themselves. Too afraid to upset someone. Too afraid to draw a line and say, this is what I deserve. But you're different. You don't fear losing anyone. And that's exactly why they'll fear losing you. Picture two people. One bends over backward to be liked, always available, always saying yes, always adjusting themselves to fit someone else's world, even if it costs them their dignity. The other moves with purpose, stands firm in their values, and doesn't hesitate to walk away from anything that disrespects them. Which one do you think commands more respect? Which one do you think others secretly admire? The truth is simple. Confidence backed by self-respect is magnetic. When someone sees that you will not lower your standards for anyone, it forces them to evaluate their own behavior. It makes them realize that keeping you in their life is not a guarantee, it's a privilege. And that realization, that's when the fear of losing you begins. Not because of games, not because of manipulation, but because they can feel deep in their gut that you are not someone who begs, chases, or settles. This isn't about arrogance. It's not about acting superior or putting others down. It's about knowing deep within yourself that you bring value to the table, that your time, your energy, and your presence are not things you just hand out to anyone who doesn't respect them. And when people see that, they start treating you differently. Epicurus once asked, "How long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself?" That's the real question, isn't it? How long will you allow yourself to be disrespected, overlooked, or treated as if you're an option instead of a priority? Because the moment you stop tolerating less than you deserve, everything changes. And here's what most people don't realize. Self-respect is felt before it's ever spoken. It's in the way you carry yourself, in the way you respond to disrespect, and in the way you choose peace over chaos. When you walk into a room, do you move like someone who knows their worth? Or do you shrink, hoping to be chosen? That energy speaks louder than words. When someone senses that you are afraid to lose them, their respect for you quietly fades. They may not even realize it at first, but over time they'll test your boundaries, push your limits, and see just how much you're willing to tolerate. And if you tolerate too much, if you let things slide that should never be ignored, you've already lost. But when you stand firm, when you make it clear through your actions that you will not stay where you are not valued, it shifts the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they aren't so sure they have you locked in. Suddenly, the thought of losing you isn't just an abstract idea. It's a real possibility. And people only fear losing what they know they can't replace. The beauty of this mindset is that you don't need to say a word. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You live it. And when you live it, they feel it. They see it in the way you walk, in the way you carry yourself, and in the way you refuse to lower your standards for temporary attention. And if they don't recognize your value, if they don't step up to match the level of respect you show yourself, then they were never meant to stay. That's the reality of self-respect. It filters out those who don't deserve your time, and it leaves you only with those who truly see and appreciate what you bring. So demand the best, not with words, but with how you live. Because the person who respects themselves without compromise is the person no one wants to lose. 5. Stay uncatchable. Be a moving target. The biggest mistake people make in relationships is getting comfortable. It's easy to do. Things feel good. Routines settle in. And before you know it, the fire that once burned bright starts to dim. Without even realizing it, you stop pushing forward. You stop growing. You become predictable, and predictability is the slow poison of attraction. People are drawn to those who are in motion, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and financially. They are captivated by those who are always evolving, always leveling up, always reaching for something just beyond the horizon. When someone sees that you're constantly improving, a quiet realization creeps in. What if one day they outgrow me? That little bit of uncertainty, that silent pressure, is what makes them value you more. Human nature is wired to treasure what feels just a little out of reach. Think about the things in life people chase the hardest. The job promotion that demands more, the rare collector's item that not everyone can have, the person who is admired by many. It's the same with relationships. When you remain in motion, When you keep pushing toward your goals, you become someone others notice, someone others respect. And that alone shifts the dynamic. Imagine two versions of yourself. One version stays stuck, repeating the same days, the same routines, the same mindset year after year. The other is always sharpening their mind, always working on their body, always setting new goals and reaching them. Which one do you think commands more respect? Which one do you think others instinctively fear losing? The one who is stagnant or the one who is rare? Heraclitus once said, "You cannot step into the same river twice, for it is not the same river and you are not the same person. The river is always flowing, always changing, just like you should be. You are not the same as you were yesterday, and if you're living right, you won't be the same tomorrow." That constant evolution doesn't just make you a better person, it makes you harder to replace. Because when someone realizes you are always moving forward, they understand something crucial. If they don't match your energy, someone else will. Some might wonder, does this mean never slowing down, never resting? No, it means never settling. There's a difference between being content and being complacent. Contentment is knowing you're on the right path. Complacency is stopping in the middle of the road. One keeps you strong, the other makes you weak. A person in motion is a person in demand. And that demand doesn't just come from others, it comes from within. It's about self-respect, about knowing that no single relationship, no single person defines your worth. You don't chase anyone because you're already too busy chasing the best version of yourself. And when you live like that, you don't have to make someone fear losing you. They feel it. People admire those who are building something, those who are expanding their world, those who refuse to be trapped in the same patterns. That kind of movement doesn't just create attraction, it creates respect. And without respect, desire fades. Keep flowing like the river Heraclitus spoke of. Keep pushing forward, not for anyone else, but for yourself. Because when you live with that kind of purpose, with that kind of momentum, you don't just become someone others fear losing. You become someone they deeply admire. And that is something they won't find again. 6. Make them earn it. Reveal your selective attention. Attention is currency. The more freely it's given, the less it's worth. The mistake most people make is thinking that by constantly showing up, always being available, and always responding the second they're needed, they're proving their value. But in reality, when something is too easy to get, it becomes invisible. It loses all meaning. Think of running water. When the faucet is always on, it fades into the background. No one stops to appreciate it because it's expected. But turn that faucet off for a while, make someone reach for it, and suddenly every drop matters. That's how attention works. When it's constant, it's ignored. When it's selective, it's valued. People don't just crave attention. They crave attention that feels earned. And the moment they realize your attention isn't free, that you don't give it away just because they exist, something shifts. Suddenly they start to feel that quiet fear creeping in. The fear that if they don't step up, someone else will capture your focus. The fear that they might not be as secure in your world as they thought. Now imagine this. You used to text every morning, always asking about their day, always available the second they needed you. But now you pull back. You don't vanish. That's not the move. But you become less predictable. Some mornings you text, some you don't. Sometimes you reply instantly. Other times you take your time, not because you're playing games, but because your life is actually full. Your focus is on your own path, and suddenly they start wondering, why aren't they as eager? Is something changing? Is someone else getting their attention? That wondering, that uncertainty, that's where the fear of losing you begins. Not because you said anything, not because you made a big statement, but because they can feel the shift. And that feeling is powerful. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once said, "Nothing is more valuable than time, for it is the price of eternity." You can lose money and make it back, lose possessions and replace them, but time, once it's gone, it never returns. And that's why a person who understands their worth guards their time like a treasure, giving it only to those who have truly earned it. So when you become the kind of person who treats your attention as something precious, not something handed out freely, people notice. They feel the difference. They realize you are not someone who chases, not someone who begs, not someone desperate for validation. And when that realization sets in, the dynamic shifts. Some might ask, does this mean ignoring people on purpose, playing hard to get? No, it's about genuine priorities. It's about ensuring your attention is given because you choose to give it, not because you're afraid of losing someone. There's a difference between mind games and self-respect. One is manipulation, the other is knowing your value. Picture two types of people. One is always available, always eager, always trying to please. The other moves with purpose, answers when it's convenient, gives attention where it's deserved. Which one do you think commands more respect? Which one do you think triggers a deeper fear of loss? Attraction isn't just about looks. It's about presence. And nothing creates a stronger presence than someone who knows their own worth. When you live with that mindset, when you understand that your value isn't in how much you give, but in how much you choose to withhold until it's earned, you become something rare. And anything rare is valued. The best part? You don't have to convince anyone to appreciate you. They'll feel it. And that feeling will make them realize that losing you isn't just losing attention. It's losing something they can't replace. 7. Draw the line or be crossed. Stand firm in your boundary. If you let someone step over your boundaries once, they will do it again. Not because they're necessarily trying to hurt you, but because you've silently shown them that your lines are flexible. And the moment they sense that, something shifts. They stop seeing you as someone they have to respect and start seeing you as someone they can test. Attraction fades when respect disappears. But when you stand firm, when you make it clear calmly and confidently that there are certain things you will not tolerate, something powerful happens. That's when the fear of losing you kicks in. Because suddenly they realize that your presence isn't a guarantee. That if they push too far, you won't argue, you won't beg, you'll simply walk away. This isn't about being cold or playing games. It's about communicating your worth without ever having to raise your voice. A person who respects themselves does not stay where they are treated poorly. They don't chase after someone who crosses their lines. Instead, they let their absence do the talking. Imagine this. A disagreement turns heated, voices rise, and suddenly personal attacks start flying. Someone who has no boundaries would either fight back, engaging in the same toxic energy, or sit there taking it, hoping to smooth things over. But a person with self-respect handles it differently. They calmly say, I'm not going to continue this conversation if it's going to turn disrespectful. When you're ready to talk with respect, we can continue. And then, without another word, they remove themselves from the situation. That silence, that absence, that's where the fear creeps in, because now the reality sets in. Your presence is not guaranteed. You are not afraid of losing anyone who cannot treat you with the respect you give yourself. And now they begin to fear your absence. Epictetus put it simply, you do not control others, only yourself. You can't force anyone to treat you a certain way. You can't make someone respect you. But you can control what you accept, and that's where all your power lies. Your boundaries aren't about punishing anyone. They're about protecting yourself, your peace, your dignity, your emotional well-being. They aren't walls meant to shut people out. They are signals that say, I value myself enough to expect respect from myself, first, and from anyone who wants a place in my life. And here's the thing. People value what they know they can lose. They respect what they can't control. The moment someone realizes that pushing too far means losing access to you, they begin to handle you differently. Because deep down, they know that finding someone who stands firm in their worth is rare. Some might wonder, does this mean cutting people off over every mistake? No, boundaries aren't about perfection, they're about consistency. You don't set a boundary once and then fold the next time just because you miss them or want to avoid conflict. If you do that, your boundary never existed in the first place. Every time you enforce your boundary with quiet strength, you are proving to them and to yourself that you are someone who does not betray their own standards. That kind of strength is magnetic, it's rare, and that's what triggers both respect and the fear of losing you. Because if there's one thing people truly fear, it's losing someone who doesn't need them but chooses them. Someone who is fully willing to walk away if their values are not met. That's how you shift the power, not through threats, not through games, but by being the kind of person who knows their worth, who refuses to settle, and who isn't afraid to walk alone if necessary. That kind of presence is unforgettable, and that's what makes them fear losing you. 8. Be the mountain, not the echo. Radiate quiet confidence. Confidence isn't in what you say, it's in how you carry yourself. True confidence doesn't beg to be noticed, doesn't demand validation, doesn't shout for attention. It moves through the world with quiet certainty, needing no confirmation from anyone. And that energy is powerful. Because the moment someone senses you are completely secure in yourself, something shifts. They stop assuming they have you locked in. They start wondering if they are enough for you. That uncertainty, that subtle shift from feeling secure to suddenly questioning where they stand with you, is where the fear of losing you begins. Not because of games, not because of manipulation, but because human nature is wired to value what isn't easily possessed. Marcus Aurelius didn't walk into a room and demand respect. His presence commanded it. He carried himself with purpose, clarity, and unshakable self-possession. The same principle applies to attraction. When you stop trying to prove yourself, when your focus is on your own mission, your own path, your own sense of self, people feel that space. And in that space, something powerful happens. When you are always available, always predictable, always eager to please, there is no urgency, no reason to fear losing you. But when you move through life with quiet purpose, when you are someone who chooses rather than needs, everything shifts. Suddenly, they are no longer sure they can take you for granted. And uncertainty is the birthplace of desire. Maybe you've noticed it before. When you pull back a little, when you focus on yourself, suddenly the messages come faster. The questions start. Why are you distant? Where have you been? That's not a coincidence. That's human instinct. We value what we fear we might lose. But here's the part most people miss. You can't fake this. You can't pretend to be detached while secretly obsessing over someone's every move. You can't act indifferent while constantly checking your phone, waiting for a response. That quiet confidence, that unshakable energy comes from genuinely believing that you will be fine with or without them. This is where Stoicism becomes your greatest ally. Epicurus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Bye. The same applies to confidence. When you want less, when you don't crave validation, when you are not desperate for attention, you become more valuable. not just to others, but to yourself. So if you truly want to trigger the fear of losing you, start here. Live like someone who knows their worth. Walk into every interaction knowing that your presence is a gift, not a plea for validation. Let your actions, not your words, show that you are a person who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't need approval to feel complete. Focus on your purpose, your growth, your inner peace. And when they stand next to you, they will feel it. That unshakable, quiet power, that energy of someone who could walk away at any moment. Not as a threat, not as a game, but as a simple truth. Because those who do not fear loss are the ones who are valued the most, and that kind of presence is unforgettable. 9. Hold without gripping. Master the balance between desire and detachment. Desire them, but never need them. Care, but never so much that you lose yourself in the process. This is the tension that keeps people on edge, the dynamic that makes them uncertain and triggers their fear of losing you. Because when someone senses that you want them, appreciate them, even crave their presence, but at the same time, you move like someone who could walk away in an instant if they ever take you for granted. It changes everything. That subtle uncertainty makes their mind race. What if they suddenly disappeared? Could I really replace them? Would I regret letting them go? This is the fear, the quiet, gnawing realization that they do not own you, that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. People aren't drawn to those who cling, who chase endlessly, who make their entire existence about being accepted. That energy is too easy to read, too easy to manipulate. But when you show someone that you care while making it clear through your action, not words, that your world doesn't revolve around them, something deeper awakens in them. The moment they realize you could live without them, their desire to keep you grows. A Stoic understands this well. Everything in life, even love, is fleeting. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment. Enjoy what you have, but never depend on it for happiness." This is what makes you untouchable. You desire, but you do not grip. You give, but you do not beg. You appreciate, but you do not fear loss. Imagine you're planning a weekend together, and at the last minute, they cancel. Most people would sulk, complain, or scramble to reschedule just to prove they care. Not you. Boom. You accept it with calm indifference, without resentment, and immediately fill your time with something meaningful. Hitting the gym, diving into your work, enjoying your life, not as a reaction, not to get back at them, but because that's simply who you are. And then something shifts. They start to wonder, why didn't you react? Why aren't you upset? Did you have something more important to do? Are you seeing someone else? That uncertainty, that space you create by simply being unbothered, plants a seed of doubt in their mind. They start to question what they assumed was secure. And when people feel like they might lose something valuable, they fight harder to keep it. Here's what most get wrong. This isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending not to care. It's about genuinely knowing your own worth and refusing to compromise it for the sake of keeping someone around. When you respect your time, your energy, and your peace, you become someone who never has to beg for love. Because people naturally hold on to what they fear losing. The real power is in the way you carry yourself, not in words, not in proving anything, but in the unshakable energy of someone who chooses but does not need. Someone who gives without attachment. Someone who walks away the moment respect is lost, without bitterness, without hesitation. Epicurus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You cannot control how someone treats you, how they feel about you, or whether they stay or go. What you can control is how you respond, how you carry yourself, how much value you place on your own time and presence. So if you want to trigger the fear of losing you, it doesn't come from trying to force it. It comes from becoming the kind of person who does not fear losing anyone. When you live with purpose, stand firm in your values and move with quiet confidence, you shift the entire dynamic. You stop hoping to be chosen. You stop needing external validation. Instead, you become the one who is valued because you value yourself first. Attraction isn't about how much you give. It's about how much you withhold until it's earned. Respect isn't about words. It's about how you move through life. And when you live like that, when your presence speaks for itself, you don't need to make anyone fear losing you. That fear will already be there. Because those who truly respect themselves are the ones who are truly irreplaceable.